In this video, we are going to see how to create procedural terrain as in the game Muck.
Muck.
What's a muck?
If you don't know about Muck, it's an awesome game made by the indie game developer Danny, and it is available on Steam for free. Let's get started. There are lots of methods to create procedural terrain in Unity. Now we are going to create terrain using Perl and noise. Let's create a new plane and name it as map generator. It holds all the logic for procedural generation. Let's add a new script to the game object and call it noise generator. Delete the start and update methods. First, we want to create a new method of return type two-dimensional float array and call it generate noise map. It has three parameters: map depth, map width, and scale. Now we create a variable to return and call it noise map and assign it the map depth and map width values. We are going to return our noise map so we don't get any errors. Next, we are going to run through the z coordinates by creating a new for loop. Set z index equal to 0, z index less than map depth, and to add 1 to the z index, we go z++. Similarly, we create a for loop to run through the x coordinates. Create a float x and set it equal to x index by scale. Also create a float z and set it equal to z index by scale. The x and z is the index for that particular point in the 2D array. After that, we are going to create Perlin noise based on the indices we got. To create a Perlin noise, we have to create a new float noise and set it equal to mathf.perlin noise and pass in the x and z values. Now we can assign this noise to the noise map we created before. This is it for the noise generation. Back to the Unity editor, we are going to add a new script to our map generator game object named level generator. Let's open the script and delete the update method. First, we are going to create a method called generate level and call it inside the start method. We can find the total depth and width of the plane by taking the square root of the total number of vertices in it. In Unity, a default plane has 121 vertices, which means its depth and width is 11. To find the number of vertices, we create a public mesh filter and call it mesh filter with a non-capital M. To find the number of vertices, we go mathf.square root meshfilter.mesh.vertices.length. We are going to store it as an integer and call it level depth. It shows error because we need to cast the type as an integer. Next, we create a new integer level width and assign level depth to it. Next, we are going to call our generate noise map method to calculate the offset based on our level depth and level width. We create a new public reference to our noise generator script and call it noise generator, and a new public float scale. We are going to call this script inside the generate level method. Noise generator dot generate noise map and pass in our level depth, level width, and scale in it. We are going to name it as height map of type two-dimensional float array. With our height map generated, we have all the coordinates needed to create a new texture for our plane. Create a new method, create texture of return type texture 2D. We add a 2D float array as a parameter and call it height map. To find the first length of the 2D array, we go noise map.getLength 0 and store it as a new integer called level depth. We are going to copy and paste this line and change the level depth to level width and get the second length. We are going to create a new color array and set it equal to new color level depth multiplied by level width. By this way, we create color for every coordinate in our height map. Next, we run through the z and x coordinates using for loop as we did in the noise generator script. To calculate the actual index of the color, we create a new integer color index and set it equal to z index multiplied by tile width plus x index. For creating actual height data, we create a float height and set it equal to height map z index comma x index. Temporarily, we assign a color between black and white for our terrain by going color index equals color.ler. We want the color to go between black and white, so type in color.black and color.white by using height as the deciding factor. If the height is 0, then the color is black, and if the height is 1, the color is white. Now everything is done, but we want to create the actual texture. Now let's type texture 2D. Texture is equal to new texture 2D and input the level width and level depth as the parameters. To set wrap mode, we go texture.wrap mode is equal to texture wrap mode.clamp. It ensures that the texture is pixel perfect. To apply the actual color, we go texture.set pixels, input our color. Apply the texture by texture.apply. Finally, return the texture. Create a new public mesh renderer and call it mesh renderer with a non-capital M. Back to our generate level method, create a texture 2D and name it as texture and call the create texture method and input our height map. To set our texture to the game object, we go mesh renderer dot material dot main texture is equal to the texture we created above. Now save and head into Unity and assign all the variables in the inspector. Set the scale to 3 or 4 depending on your choice. By hitting play, you will notice that we created a texture and assigned it to the plane successfully. Each time you hit play, the texture is going to be different. Seeing a black and white texture is boring. We are going to create different terrain types so we can assign colors based on the height map. We are going to create a new class to store our terrain data. So right click in the project panel and create a new script called terrain data. In the terrain data script, delete the start and update methods, and we don't want it to derive from mono behavior. Now mark it as system.serializable inside the square bracket. It enables Unity to reconstruct our data later. Inside the terrain data class, let's create a public string name, public float height, and public color. It is enough for now. We can add more attributes later. Back in our level generator script, we are going to add a public terrain data array and call it terrain data with a non-capital T. If we head back to Unity, we see that now we can assign terrain data in the inspector. We want to create 3 types of terrain and make sure that the terrain is in ascending order of height. We will be using it later. I'm going to create water and give it a height of 0.4 and a nice blue color. I'm going to create 2 more terrains, grass and hill. Assign 0.7 and 1 for their heights and green and brown for their colors respectively. Now head back to our level generator script, create a new method, choose terrain of return type terrain data, and add a float height as a parameter. We are going to run through all the terrain types in our terrain data using a for each loop. So for each terrain data, we are going to call it terrain type and our terrain data variable. Inside that, we are going to check that if the height is less than terrain type dot height, then return terrain type. Outside the loop, return terrain data dot length minus 1, which will return the last element in the array. If we head back to Unity and hit play, we will notice that we have a terrain with colors assigned to it. That's all for now. We are going to see how to change mesh height in the next video. Smash subscribe and hit the bell icon for more content like this.